Welcome back, everyone, to the Dr. Ginny Show. I am experiencing many firsts in this season of our podcast. And today I have with me Elizabeth Lewis, who is the brand new author of Dress Your Brand, Use Your Wardrobe to Elevate, Stand Out, and Achieve Your Boldest Vision. So I am so excited for all of you who have joined us to listen to this conversation. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, Dr. Ginny. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So am I. So Elizabeth and I are actually Weebies. We belong to WeBank, which is a women business-owned national council organization. And we met in March. And here we are sitting down hosting this podcast. So I'm super excited that you're going to listen from Elizabeth and all that she has to share with us today. So Elizabeth, let's start out with the most important question of all, which is what is our audience going to gain by listening to us?
In our session today, I'm so excited to share more about how what we wear can actually help us to achieve our goals, communicate who we are as leaders and beyond.
And I know that we are going to get into executive presence.
Yes.
And the way that you and I approach executive presence is different. And we're going to get into that because ultimately, whoever's listening to us, it's either going to be someone who's climbing that ladder or the jungle gym, jumping around, or someone who's already there and doesn't seem to be as effective as they want to be or could be more effective. And we want to help you through this conversation to pull from the inside and to pull from the outside to achieve your vision and your goals, as Elizabeth says, to achieve your boldest vision as a leader. So let's get started, Elizabeth, and tell us a little bit about you. What is your background and what inspired you to start your business?
As you said at the top of the show, I'm the founder and CEO of Brand Style and Bloom, and it's a personal branding and styling consultancy. And the work that I love to do is to help people be unforgettable and feel more confident through the power of what they wear and through their style. I've been doing it for 7 years, which is unbelievable to me. The time has just flown, and I actually just celebrated my 7th year anniversary. And I was inspired to go into this for multiple reasons, but it really starts when I was very young, like so many of these things do. I grew up in a household where my dad moved around a lot due to the demands of his job. And because of that, it was hard for me to really find a solid group of friends. And I was already very, very shy. So those two things were a little bit hard to find my tribe. So it was hard for me to really connect with people at school through the power of my voice. However, I was always a funky dresser because I really love fashion, go figure. So I would be really shy, but I would wear these kind of bright orange jeans and lime green socks. And I think because of that, people felt comfortable coming up to me and connecting with me and saying, oh, I like those socks, or whoa, that's really, really bright, or whatever. But they were the ones who helped to break that up. But I was able to do that through what I wore because it was communicating something about me.
For sure.
So fast forward, I always loved fashion. I always loved it, but I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't want to necessarily do fashion design. The only other path I knew was modeling, and I didn't really know about that either. So I went with some secondary loves of mine. When I came to New York, I worked in publishing and then later worked in brand marketing and brand management at Colgate-Palmolive. It was a really great experience. I learned a ton. And I did a lot of work with the design team, trying to figure out just the right look for a new product. And at first, I would get really a little bit frustrated because I felt like there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen and a lot of people being involved in decisions. But as I matured in my role, I realized not every product gets a big advertising budget. So it's really important how the product kind of pops out on shelf to the shopper. And then I started comparing that to people and thinking that as people, we have amazing gifts inside of us, but if we don't know how to communicate those to affect our vision, and if we don't know how to externalize those to others so they can help us, then we might not get where we want to go. So that was the inspiration behind starting my company. So I love doing workshops and trainings. I love working with people individually, and I'm also a first-time author. So
amazing. I was going to ask you specifically, what are the problems that you're solving for? So if you can think of your top clients, companies, as well as individuals, what are they struggling with and what is it that you are helping them solve?
They come to me struggling with a lot of different things. First of all, a lot of the times they feel like they're in a little bit of a rut with their style and they kind of wear the same clothes in their closet all the time, like so many of us. But when they look in the mirror, they don't really love what they see necessarily and think that their outfit is best serving them. They know they need help, but they don't necessarily know what to do on their own. So they hire me for that. Another thing is sometimes what they wear is completely misaligned with who they are. And they know that, but they don't necessarily know how to bridge that gap. So for example, if someone is a very joyful and optimistic person, but they're always wearing black, like many of us New Yorkers where I live, there might be a mismatch because we know that impressions are made very, very quickly within 7 seconds and they're a little bit hard to shake. So I'm not saying anything is wrong with wearing black, but at the same time, what we wear is an opportunity to communicate who we are. And so you might want to add some brighter colors or pops of colors to your wardrobe to communicate it. So it's usually misalignment or I just feel stuck. I don't really know what to do. Another thing is people want to reach that next rung and they might be like one of my first customers was very used to shopping at like Old Navy and Gap. And again, there's nothing wrong with Old Navy and Gap. But he was moving into more of an executive role and the clothes that come from those places weren't necessarily serving that new executive look. So it's also when they get a great new opportunity and they want to know how to dress for it.
So let's talk about the value or the significance of this conversation for a leader who's listening. I'm going to share a quick story around my sense of fashion at work because I always felt like I was very conservative in my dress because my mom is very conservative in how she dresses. So I think we kind of mimic people around us. And when I started my first job at Prudential as a programmer, I remember my dad pulling me aside and saying to me, Ginny, dress so that if your manager can make a meeting, your manager will feel very comfortable saying that you can go in their place. And so from day one, even from my internship at Prudential when I was a junior in college, I began to take my wardrobe seriously. And I've always dressed professionally. And I know many of us already do. And so there's a combination of how we exude who we are and how we feel internally, and also how we feel internally so that when we actually show up into a room, virtual or live, that we exude that executive presence that we are going to talk about into our conversation. So can you tell us, Elizabeth, what is your definition of executive presence as a stylist?
When you think about executive presence, it's anything that helps you come forward as a leader. And as a leader, we expect our leaders to be confident and have a vision and have some sense of who they are and their gifts and how they contribute to the organization. So my job as someone who styles people is to help them to understand what all of those things mean for themselves so that they can present their best selves forward and be seen as somebody who can really lead a team and feels confident leading a team.
And for me, just so that we can see how complementary we are, for me, it's about executive presence is all about projecting confidence, authentic confidence. I don't believe in fake until you make it.
No, I don't either. I actually hate that phrase.
Me too. I think we really need to understand what is a unique value proposition because I think once we do, we then own it. That's just a small step to own what we already know we are. So it's projecting confidence. The next one is influencing others. It's extremely important to grow and elevate your executive presence. And there's many components that go into and factors that go into influencing others, like trust and building psychological safety and listening to people, actually paying attention to what they're saying and understanding them, etc. And also your area of expertise, like being a subject matter expert. We know that, right? People are not going to listen to people that they don't feel have the credibility to be listened to. And the last piece I would say in my PIN framework that I created is to nurture relationships. So P is for project confidence. The I is for influence stakeholders. And the N is to nurture relationships. So when you tie that framework to what you just described as to being able to take how you are really inside and to be able to present yourself in a way that lets everybody know I'm serious and I mean business, then you really have the whole package.
Absolutely. And how I typically translate that into clothing, because I agree with everything that you said. I think, first of all, there are some must-dos. So I think one thing that really helps to know is how clothes fit you. You know, what are your best cuts? Does what you wear kind of best fit your shape? And for that, I love helping my clients understand, you know, what is their shape? What are the best cuts that flatter their shape so that they can feel confident going in? The other thing is color. I think color is extremely important. And I think it's very helpful when a leader knows what their colors are, right? What are their best colors? You're in this beautiful, vibrant red, gold, and I'm very confident that you know that those are great colors for you. And as leaders, we want to project energy. We want to project, that energy needed to lead a team. Like that's a lot. Reaching these big goals is really a lot. So you want to inspire that in your people. And if you're wearing a color that doesn't necessarily work for your skin tone. So for example, I'm very gold. So if I had on navy, which is typically a very cool color, that would make me look very tired and drained, even though I might be feeling all the energy in the world. And so if your team sees that, then they're going to have a different perspective. And so it can really help to contribute to the bottom line. And then I think the last piece of that is, to your point, kind of knowing your gifts, your unique value proposition. How do you bring that out through your style? And that's when you start leveraging not only colors, because that's always a strong tool, but also prints, patterns, fabrics. Like there are just so many things within the toolkit to really help you to project your uniqueness in terms of your leadership and executive presence.
I absolutely agree. I feel so much more confident now because back in 2023, I did a trip to Provence, France, and with business mentor, and I met Nick Smith. And Nick helped me do a brand in a week. And she was able to give me assessments that I answered around, how I wanted people to feel when they went to my website. And if you go to my website, executivebound.com, you will see a burnt pink, you will see eggplant, you will see this burnt blue, you will see yellow, you will see red. Every single color has a psychological meaning and it emotes different emotions. So I now dress my brand colors because I don't want to clash with my website. And it has made my life so easy. Also, even in my personal life, I've been wearing my brand colors and there seems to be a sense of harmony. And I know if you're listening to us and thinking colors, really? We're going to go there? Yes, we're going there because color, like red, is action. So if you want people to take action, and that's what you're going to go into that meeting to propose, wear a red top. Wear something that has a pop of red that says, we have to take action here. Yellow is happiness. It's like brightness. So if you have good news or you want people to feel happy around you, wear a yellow blazer. I am not kidding you. It works. And so there's a lot behind that. I'm sure that everybody can research what colors look better on them. Some colors look, like you said, they drain you. They do not elevate you in any way. And we want to stay away from those. When it comes to branding and your personal style, what are some misconceptions that people have about it in the industry that you would like to address?
A lot of people can think it's shallow, and I completely understand why they would feel that way. A lot of times when we have these conversations around style, people don't necessarily know how to approach them because it can be very personal. It can feel judgmental. We see fashion shows and the runways, and it's not always the most serious place necessarily, even though it can be joyful and inspirational. When we think about our problems of the day, style is probably not at the top of that list, right?
Yes.
And the same with personal branding. I mean, we can be very successful at our jobs and not necessarily feel that we need a strong personal brand because you know what? We're good, right? We're all set. We're getting the salary that we want. We feel that security. But I'd like to flip that on its head a little bit when you think about personal styling and branding. First of all, you can't ever underestimate the power of what you wear to inspire your insides. I don't know about you, but I don't wake up every day in a good mood. I don't wake up every day feeling good necessarily, but I put on an outfit that really makes me feel good and feel confident. And I might not have everything automatically fixed, but in terms of my mindset and how I view things, it definitely increases. It definitely goes up. And there's actually science behind that, fashion psychology and clothes cognition. Those are really interesting things to learn about if you want to dive in more. And I think with personal branding, the world that we live in these days can feel very unpredictable in terms of technology and lots of different forces going on. And so if you have a strong personal brand, then you can last past the job that you're in because you're not depending on that to form your brand. You've really thought about it intentionally in terms of your internal. What are your gifts? What are the great accomplishments that you've done that showcase those gifts and center that as your brand? So that can just really help you to have more career longevity. But also if you decide to start a side business or a side hustle and you have a strong personal brand, that can also help you in that area as well.
I can relate to that. And the word that popped into my head when you were speaking just now was visibility, because we think about our personal brand. And I've been hearing this from a lot of my business colleagues that I'm in masterminds with, talking about I need to build my brand. Well, what does that even mean to build your brand? Well, it all begins, number one, with yourself, right? Like, who am I? What are my values? What are my needs? What is my unique value proposition? What am I about as a leader? What do I appreciate in myself when I show up for my teams? What is my area of expertise? That's all part of your personal brand. Then Elizabeth is bringing in the external component. How do you show up to a room? In addition to the executive presence that I talked about with PIN, how do you project confidence? How do you influence stakeholders? How do you nurture relationships? And how do you physically show up? So you can be memorable when you walk into a room, or you could be wallpaper. And one of my mottos when I'm in my Elevate cohorts is don't be wallpaper. So we're giving you a couple of ways not to be wallpaper. One is know your stuff, have the goods to back up whatever look you have. And then if you can, have a look. Actually show up in your best self. I agree with you, Elizabeth. When I wake up in the morning after I do my workout and I do my shower and I get ready, what I put on changes my mood. I'm usually someone who meditates in the morning, meditates at night. Like, I have my success guardrails for how to feel. I don't leave it up to chance. Like, I am going to feel this way today and this week and this month and this quarter. And what I wear makes a huge difference. So I feel amazing when I get dressed, and I smell amazing because I make sure that I wear my Chanel Allure, that I wear my Coco Chanel, that I wear things that when I smell me, yes, I smell myself, but I go, wow, I smell great. And it's all part of how we give ourselves a chance to elevate our executive presence and then to show up and have the energy and the aptitude and the attitude that our teams need for us to have.
My gosh, I cannot agree more. And I just love what you said with visibility, and you can be seen or you can be wallpaper. And I actually have a story about this. I was at a summit last fall and I was telling somebody about what I did. And she's like, you know what? I was at a networking event a few weeks ago and I was wearing all black and literally nobody saw me. Nobody saw me. And she felt that. She felt that at the networking event. So just think, when you go out or when you go to networking events or when you go to these different things to meet people, wear something bright so you can be seen, or wear something kind of unique, a little bit funky, so you can start having a conversation with someone that doesn't automatically go into, what do you do necessarily, right? You kind of warm it up with something else. So couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So what are some of the possibilities and opportunities that you see out there in terms of how people are currently showing up and how they could show up?
I see a lot of possibility. Well, I think it definitely goes back to the basics of what I mentioned. I see a lot of people dressing in oversized clothes, again, because they don't necessarily know what fits them, or they haven't been able to be introduced to that for whatever reason. And so they just dress in baggy clothes because, you know what, baggy clothes work for everyone. But at the same time, according to fashion psychology, wearing baggy clothes can actually make you appear sad or depressed, right? And hopefully you're not feeling that way if you're wearing baggy clothes. You may be wearing baggy clothes because you feel that way. However, if you can change that up and wear clothes that maybe are a little bit more fitted, that can actually help to change your mindset. And so that's one opportunity I see. I see people wearing a lot of dark colors too, or like a lot of neutral colors. Those colors, again, they're neutral. They work for everyone. They kind of go with everything. But because of that, they don't really say a lot. So I would love for someone to explore wearing maybe a color that's not a neutral with one that's a neutral. And you can start small. You can start with an accessory. You don't have to be wearing bright orange from head to toe, but just start with something small and something a little bit brighter, and then progress as you see fit and as you feel more comfortable. And I can almost guarantee you, if you do that, people are going to see it. You're going to start getting compliments. Things are going to be reinforced. I see it all the time with my clients, and they get more and more inspired and feel more confident.
And I would say that in the industry that I worked in for so many years in financial services, it's a very conservative industry. And everybody who's listening, who's in that space, knows that it's the gray suits, it's the black suits, it's the navy blue suits. It's not colors. For sure. So one of the things that I would do when I was in the industry working in my corporate role is I would wear professional suits and dresses, and I would add the accessories, as you mentioned, 1 and 2. What I would do is I would wear either accepted colors, but I would actually wear a shell underneath the jacket that had a pop of color. And then toward the end, I really got, bold, and I was actually wearing like color suits, which were unheard of. But I did it anyway, and I felt fantastic. And I was still very professional, and there were still suits. And so it takes sometimes a while for us to find our own style. But I love that you mentioned that baggy clothes is one of the patterns that you see out there. I would also say this, along with baggy clothes is not well-fitted clothes. Clothes could be too tight. And then everything's rolling out and popping out. And it just doesn't look complimentary. And it also almost feel like, did I look in the mirror before I left the house? So it's almost like a perception around, And remember, people create an image or a perception about you. And then we have to undo that, which takes so much more heavy lifting than if we take the time to be thoughtful around, okay, I'm going to wear this. How does this look on me? How do I feel in it? And once you feel good in it, that's a keeper. If it's not, I feel amazing in those clothes, we're going to get rid of them. We're going to put them aside. And I wanted to bring up one other misconception that I think people have, and that is cost.
Yes.
What is the misconception around your personal style, branding, and cost?
Well, people definitely think that it's expensive. And I can understand why that is because back in the days, I would read magazines. I still do. And a lot of the ads that you would see would be very expensive luxury clothes that, yes, you would love to wear to work and are very well fitted and beautiful and well cut and great materials, but might cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And even if we have that to spend, we don't necessarily want to spend that on our clothes. And the great news is that you don't have to. There's so many ways to look good without having to break the bank. You have places like Quince, they have a lot of pieces that are good materials like silks and cottons and natural breathable materials. It may not be like the best quality in the whole entire world, like some of these luxury pieces that cost thousands of dollars, but they're still going to help you deliver that look and help you still feel that confidence and the benefits of that confidence as well. And I don't know how people feel about consignment. I definitely love places like The Real because you can get great quality luxury pieces that are gently worn or have just been hanging in somebody's closet for years and they've never worn it. And you can get it for a fraction. So those are two resources that I always tell people about. And Quince has grown a lot in reputation, but people really didn't know a lot about it before.
Great. Thank you for those resources. The other piece that I wanted to mention around resources is that for me, I think it's so important to have a signature piece.
Yes.
I have two signature pieces that I absolutely love. And if you've seen me in different venues, especially speaking, you probably have seen me in one of those pieces. And that is my St. John suit. I absolutely love how I feel in it. Love that it's a neutral color that goes great with my brand. Thank goodness I didn't have to get rid of it. And there's another one and others that I have that I had to get rid of it because they were lavender, okay, or navy blue. So I had to get rid of those. And it was so sad, but I passed them on to someone else who could take advantage of them. But I think everyone needs to have in their wardrobe their power suit where they feel like Superwoman or Superman in that suit. What do you think about that?
I completely agree with you. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a signature piece. It could be a signature color. Like I wear red all the time. And not only do I wear it all the time because it's my favorite color, but it's a color that stands for energy and confidence. And it helps me feel more energetic and more confident all the time, more bold, right? I write about the color red in my book. I love the color red, right? So yes, whether it's a great suit that's really well fitted and tailored to you, and every time you show up in it, you feel like $1,000,000, even if it didn't cost $1,000,000, or a color or a signature print or pattern or a signature accessory, something when you put it on, it just helps you feel amazing and it helps you feel ready. I 100% agree with that.
So let's talk about what you do with companies and how you help them. Because I know you mentioned you do workshops. What kind of workshops do you do for organizations? I would love for the audience to hear about how you contribute.
I absolutely love doing workshops for companies. And one of my signature workshops is called Dress Your Brand. It's all about the power of visual intelligence. It's how do we leverage these different colors and the psychology behind colors, the psychology behind prints and patterns, the psychology behind fabrics and silhouettes to not only affect how we feel, but also how we project ourselves to others. I always say 50% of communication and more is nonverbal. So it's definitely not about what you say. I mean, that's important, of course, but it's also about how you say it and the visuals that you communicate when you say it. And a lot of the time, we don't really think about the visuals. So I really love going into companies and talking about that. And it's always new insights and things that pop up for people. So
I'm definitely going to share with the audience your contact information so they can go to your website. The concept of having a signature color is powerful. I have a signature color set because of my brand. So red is definitely in my color set. I love wearing red, especially when I'm presenting. If I'm presenting virtually, even more so because I want to get people energized. And guess what is one of the comments that I usually get from my audience when I speak?
that they feel very energized.
We love your energy.
I love it.
Because
Yes.
the color is part of my energy. The color
Yes.
red says, I'm here, right? And I'm here for you. And
Right.
so we want to expand your perspective around taking a look at your wardrobe, taking a look at how you are living your personal brand today. And when you consider who you are in the context of your field and your expertise, and when you think about how you are expressing that in the office, in the virtual rooms, and in the networking events, and then how you are communicating that, because that's really important. Just notice what you notice.
Yes.
If you were to look at a scale from 1 to 10, do you think you are below a 5 in terms of 1 being, I really need to work on this, or 10 is, I am rocking it? Where do you find yourself? And if you find that there's some wiggle room for improvement, to consider what resources can I leverage to improve in this area. Personally, I always believe go to an expert who knows what they're doing and accelerate the process, because I don't want to now become a fashionista and become a stylist and all of that. No, I want to go to an expert like Elizabeth or anyone else in your network that you know that could help you to actually do the thing that you want to do without wasting all this time trying to figure it out and getting frustrated in the process. So as a coach, of course, if you're looking for developing your executive presence, you can reach out to us at Executive Bound and we can discuss what that would look like. We can do a complimentary strategy session, just like Elizabeth can also provide a complimentary strategy session or consultation to help you with your needs. So Elizabeth, is there anything else we want to share with the audience before we go into the lightning round and wrap up our podcast today?
Think about how you want to show up. And that is really going to make picking out an outfit or going shopping and everything so much easier for you. It's going to save your time. It's going to save your energy, and you're going to get 1,000 times more results when you do that.
And what is wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with that. So let's go into a lightning round. I'm going to ask you, what advice would you give your younger self today?
I would say advocate for yourself. That's something that took me a while to learn in my journey. I always thought it was bragging. I grew up in a very humble background where we were not necessarily encouraged to toot our own horn a lot. And I'm not saying you have to brag about yourself, but I think as a young person in corporate or any job, don't just assume that people know what you're doing, especially if you're talking to someone other than your boss, or if you're talking to someone else on a team. Let them know what you're excited about and some of your recent accomplishments when they say what's going on. Use that time. So that's what I would say.
And I would say even beyond if you're a younger professional, even as an established professional, we may still have the mindset that my work will speak for itself. Well, guess what? I wish that were the case, but it's not always the case. If for whatever reason, the people around you are distracted doing their own thing, you may need to just share what it is that you've accomplished as a team, as a leader, that how the company has benefited, not from bragging, which I love that word, not like tooting our own horn, not that, because that has a really crunchy energy for me also, but more from a place of contribution. Hey, here's what the team did. Hey, here's what we accomplished. Because of this, we can now do this process in 3 days instead of 7. Like that is actually great news. And by the way, people, our managers, love to share our winnings. They love to share with the rest of the senior leadership. By the way, we were able to reduce the time to market from X number of days to Y number of days because everybody's winning. So give your manager and give your centers of influence ways in which to talk about you in a positive way. So that's also another way to advocate for yourself without worrying about sounding like, oh, I'm tooting my own horn and I'm humble, so I'm not going to talk about the things that I'm doing. They should notice because I'm just doing it. Doesn't work that way. I mean, most of us know that. So the second question I have for you in the lightning round is, if you had no limitations in time, budget, resources, what project would you take on?
I actually see this in my future, but I want to take a group of executives and founders to somewhere like Bali and have us do kind of all the internal work of thinking about vision and how we want to show up. And then maybe inviting vendors who are native to the area, but also international to come. And so you have all of these different styles and prints and patterns and cool pieces that can really help you to reflect who you are that you can merge into your wardrobe. I think that would just be amazing. And that's on my vision board right there.
You know what's interesting about that? I just saw like this fashion show. Like I saw people learning about their styles and then having all these vendors really show them what it could look like so they can actually even try stuff on and be like, oh my goodness, I'm in this state where most people don't pay attention to their fashion. Most people kind of just put clothes on and take them off and, change. But there is so much we're leaving on the table when we don't leverage this. I think you called it a leadership tool. Like,
yes,
start to think about your personal style as a leadership tool. And that came from you, from our conversation before. I just want to give you props for that. It is a tool, right? It is this tool that you may have or may not have been leveraging. So we are recommending that we start leveraging it from this point forward. And if you need help with that, we're here to support you. So the last question I have for you, Elizabeth, before we wrap up is, what has been the best piece of advice that you've received?
It's way back in college and I'm still trying to exercise it, but it's such good advice. And the advice is learn how to not be embarrassed. There's so much that we do in terms of our self-thinking and we self-limit ourselves. And I'm not saying to just go out and be a wild person. There are certain things that we should keep in mind. But if you are constantly in meetings and you're too afraid to speak up, learn how to just say it anyway. And a lot of the times when we don't speak up in those meetings, somebody else is what we were thinking. Everyone's like, oh, that's such a great idea. I'm so glad you brought that up. And then we're kicking ourselves. Just challenge yourself to speak up once in every meeting, if you can, or in one meeting a day or something like that. And if you can learn how to not be embarrassed or be less embarrassed, that will help you very much in life.
I love that advice. And that kind of also double clicks on don't be wallpaper.
Right. Exactly. You are there for a reason. You deserve that seat. Act like it.
Wow, this is great. Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us today, for giving us your insights and for helping us understand what are some of the challenges that people have right now, how you are able to support organizations and individuals in elevating and standing out to achieve their boldest vision, as you said. Please go ahead and look for Elizabeth's book, Dress Your Brand, which is available from your website, correct?
It's available from my website, also on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com.
And if you have listened to our conversation today and found it insightful, please share it with your network, because people in your network also need to hear what you've heard. And you also support us in spreading the news and increasing our impact so we can touch as many lives as possible. Elizabeth, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
My
Wonderful
pleasure.
conversation. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Elizabeth. And thank you for hanging in with us and for listening to this episode of the Dr. Ginny Show. Look at all the other topics that we have. Click, share, and we look forward to seeing you at the next episode. In the meantime, lead with purpose, live with joy. We'll see you at the next episode.